Hey, good day, everyone. This is Michael Kolbeck from Rise Again, your truth activator here, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about my new album, Biotech II, The Awakening. So I'll put some links in. I've got some videos on YouTube. You can get the songs on SoundCloud. Everything's free. And I just wanted to talk about what Biotech II is all about. So overall, Biotech II, really it's about my awakening experience. It's about coming home to me. And it's divided into three parts. We've got Act 1, which is Into the Darkness. Act 2, which is a set of songs that's into the now. And Act 3, which is a set of songs which is into the light. So I was working today on a couple more videos for the first section, Into the Darkness. Previously, I've released the first song, Wisdom of the All, which sets the stage for everything, which is the apprentice, i.e. me, going to a sage, a wise old sage, because his life is crumbling apart around him. He's tried everything. He doesn't know what to do anymore. He's tried to give as much as he can give. He's tried to love as much as he can love, and yet everything has been getting worse and worse and worse, and he has no idea where to find the answers. And the wise old sage directs him to seek in the place he never sought, within. And in order to access this inner world of ours, the sage takes him on a journey with the breath. And the whole album is really encompassed in this meditative state, this energetic state, where through the breath, you become reconnected to the inner world of you. And you begin to go into the darkness, into the now, and into the light. And you begin to transform. This energy begins to move as you continually work with the breath. After Wisdom of the All, which is the first song of the album, you go into the second song, which is Dystopian Nightmare. And this one takes place, it's sort of in the video that goes along with it, you can think of a space-themed song in the cosmos. And this is really a representation, at least for me, when I begin to get into that space, into that deep breathing, and the energy begins to move. It's generally a very cosmic feeling, and yet Dystopian Nightmare, it's titled that way because back then when I was first introduced to the breath, there was so much emotion that was buried, that was not dealt with, that had not been dealt with for years and years and years, using very dysfunctional coping mechanisms that I had attained on my own throughout my life, and just shoving everything down, never really dealing with the truth of anything. We get into dealing with the truth of things in the second part of the album, the Act 2, Into the Now, when we're looking in the mirror of truth. But right now we're in Dystopian Nightmare. As I remember, as I began doing the energy work, I began connecting to my breath. I began allowing that energy within me to move and to flow. It was not a fun experience. And it was an inner war that was going on. And so Dystopian Nightmare is all about that inner war that is going on, the different parts of self battling and conflicting on one another. There's no harmony, there's no peace. And the third song, which I'm working on today, which is why I'm so excited, it's 1,000 Wounds Laid Bare. And I'm going to talk about that song and Annihilation at the same time. The fourth song is Annihilation. So 1,000 Wounds Laid Bare is really, it's coming to grips with everything that we have denied, everything that we have pushed down, everything that we have rejected, every lie we have told ourselves, every lie we have taken in from another. and believed to be the truth. And it really sets the stage for going into the pain. It's not that you have to re-experience those things, don't get me wrong, but the energy has a signature all of its own. And if you've never allowed the energy to move through you and be released, then when you begin to breathe, when you begin to do some other type of somatic exercise, when you get into EMDR or something like that, that's helping you process, you do not have to relive the experience, but that energy will still have very much a flavor of its own. And this energy of 1,000 wounds laid bare, it's that dark, it's that raw, it's painful. That is why they say transformation is not for the weak of heart, because it takes courage to go into the darkness. And let's face it, most people don't have it. I didn't have it. I only began to change. I reached that point, that line in the sand, the straw that broke the camel's back, however you want to put it, when the pain of life became too great. I couldn't take it anymore. That's it. If it had not been amped up in such a way in the last number of years of my previous marriage, if it had not been amped up on her end with the behavior she was involved in, etc., I would have remained. And it was a long, slow, painful death. And so I'm thankful that it was amped up, that it ignited something in me that finally found that tipping point within me that was like, this is absolutely not right. I am not going to do this anymore. And I began that journey home to self, and everything on that journey home to self, which there's a song in Act 3. There is a song called Welcome Home. And it is about coming back to the place of home here within. It's not out there. It's not in anything out there. It's not in anyone out there. It's not in any religion out there. It's not in any belief system out there. I don't care what anybody tells you. All the truths lie within. And if you were looking for home, if you were looking for peace, if you were looking for joy and contentment, and you were looking for that in some form or way, shape, or form in your external world, it will continue to elude you. It will continue to show you illusions. And that takes us back to the third song, 1,000 Wounds Laid Bare, because it begins with, I'm still in that inner world of mine, and I'm walking up to this mansion, and it's dark, it's gothic looking. And yet I continue to walk forth, and there's a flash in the video of the temptress, the witch, the sorceress. And as the song progresses into me essentially noticing red flags, noticing that something's not right, maybe even trying to get out early on in the relationship because you just know something's not right, but you stay in, you ignore it all, you choose in. And in the video, there's a representation of me where she hands him a chalice and he drinks from the chalice. And he knows something's wrong, but he chooses to drink it anyways. And that's the poison that consumes him. Now, let me get this clear. Let me make this straight here for you. It's not all about that person. It's not that particular person ruined your life or anything. I know we all like to think so. But the fact is, before we met that person, now I'm not here to say that they did not do any damage, that they were not destructive, all that stuff. They absolutely were. Those type of toxic, highly narcissistic, extremely toxic people, they're dangerous. They're extremely damaging on all levels. So let's just be clear about that, right? And they are 100% responsible for their actions and behaviors. So make no illusion here. This is not about letting them off the hook or anything. But the fact is, you wouldn't be in that relationship in the first place if you did not have a dynamic within you that in some sense felt like this was familiar, right? And so a thousand wounds laid bare, I come to the reality of all of the pain and the things and the cost and everything in my life, and it is just too much to bear. And as I drink that poison, because I want the illusion that has been presented, and so I voluntarily drink that poison, and suddenly I am consumed by it. And it goes into the fact that it feels as though you are nothing but a sacrificial lamb to this person who has been crucified. Why they have taken and played with your heart and soul, and they have no remorse over it. And yet, even after all of that, even after all that pain, there's that remaining trauma bond that stays there. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of biochemical processes in it. But you persist even when you've left, even when they've left, whatever it is, and the relationship is no more, that trauma bond persists. You can't get them out of your head. And all you can think about is the illusion, the good times that was imprinted so heavily during the first initial stages of the relationship. Now, as I said before, you were already ripe and you were already primed for that type of relationship. Yes, those people did additional damage. They took your wounds you already had and they exacerbated them. They actually attacked those wounds directly. I call it data mining. That's what they do in the early parts of the relationship. They want to find all the stuff out about you, and you think, oh, it's just great. You're just sharing your lives and your experiences of lives together, when really all they're doing, all that highly narcissistic person is doing, is data mining. They're getting information from you. They're getting what triggers you. They're getting your wounds, and they're storing those away so that they can be used against you. All right? But we were primed. We were already ready for that based on our earlier experiences in life and the dynamics from our earlier experiences in life. And coupled with that usually is also generational trauma. Let's face it, there are actual scientific studies that show generational trauma is passed down through the DNA up to 14 generations is what the studies show. The Bible talks about generational sin. I like to look at it as generational trauma. The sins of the father will pass down. We've all heard that, right? So the groundwork, the foundation, the dysfunctional dynamics, the dysfunctional coping mechanisms, all this stuff was imprinted on us in the early part of life through our DNA, etc. But as we become adults, it is our responsibility to do the work, to do the healing, to get through that pain, to come into here, to go within, to find the truth. Because the truth, when you find it, when you face it, it will set you free. And in this part, even in A Thousand Wounds Laid Bare in that song, you see, that person, a representation of me, wasn't ready for the truth yet. Even though I could see red flags and see things, I drank the poison anyway. Right? Because I still believed I needed something from it. I still believed and was looking externally for the answers when I needed to be looking within here. What is going on within me that allows this type of behavior, that stays in a relationship with a person doing these types of things, that treats me in this way, that is so disrespectful, that has no love, no care, no affection, that uses so many things that are sacred and so many things that are wonderful, uses those things as weapons. And so as we go into moving on from A Thousand Wounds Laid Bare, coming face to face with that pain, that excruciating pain. And then it goes into annihilation. And annihilation is all about the annihilation of self. It feels as though we are being annihilated. That our identity, because our identity has been so other person focused and so outward focused, that as we begin to do the healing, as we begin to let go, we no longer know who we are. Without all those external things, without these relationships, etc., we no longer know who we are. And annihilation feels like you're just being ripped in half, that your soul, that your heart, that every fabric of your being, your identity, anything that has been your identity before, it's being challenged and it's being ripped, it's being torn asunder. Right? It is a brutal, brutal experience. And that's why these two videos that I'm making for 1,000 Wounds Laid Bare and Annihilation are so dark. It's because we've had the courage to go within, into this darkness, into this pain. And I'll tell you what, that is something to hold on to. Like I said before, most people avoid it. They don't want to go there. Because the only way out is through. And it's easier just to live in the illusion. I did it for years, so I'm not blaming anybody or judging anybody on that. And then as we go through the story, the song of annihilation, and all the excruciating pain that comes with that, we find ourselves in the void. The last song in Act 1, Into the Darkness, on the Biotech II album. And in the void, it feels as though there is nothing. Everything has been stripped away. We have just completely collapsed within. We have nothing left. And in the song, you hear a heartbeat that beats throughout the song. But you're in this void. You feel as though you're in this nothingness. Because all of these identities and the person that you thought you always were, that you've been showing up as, following all of the rules and the scripts that have been written out for you, all of these imprinted beliefs coming from your subconscious, beliefs that before you would never really question until the pain of life got too bad. All of these things have been laid bare, right? And you're in the void. And in this void, then, is where you can begin to start facing the reality, the truth of what is. And then we move from there into Act 2, where the first song is Mirror of Truth, where you're willing now to look into the mirror of self. Life has been providing you, relationships have been providing you with the reflection all of your life. And I know for me, it wasn't until certain patterns repeated in my adult relationships and in my adult life where I was like, wait a minute here. Yeah, these people are messed up. There ain't no doubt about that. But there's still a common denominator here, me. And I begin to question, what is it within me that is allowing these type of people into my life time and time again, and trusting them with such sacred parts of my life and things in my life that they just turn and twist into knives that they use against you. The album is about healing. Biotech II, The Awakening, is about your own internal awakening. It's about coming home to self. It's about not looking out there anymore, but looking within. The Egyptian Book of the Dead says, know thyself and know that ye are gods. The Bible itself says, do you not know that ye are gods? Jesus says that in the Bible. The greatest transformation we can have is by going within. But in order to get to the light, in order to get to that peace, that contentment, that joy, it must be cultivated and it must come from within. And in order to get there, you must first go through the darkness, because the only way out is through. The only way out is facing the truths that you don't want to face. And we have a million ways, all of us do, have a million ways of not facing the truth. Because as they say, ignorance is bliss, right? And it can be, until the pain of life becomes too great. And you cannot live in ignorance anymore. And you must do the hard internal work of facing the truth, of going within, releasing the old, letting it go, and opening up space that something new and wonderful can come in, and that you can cultivate that from the inside out. It's the Hermetic principle. As above, so below. And that principle which is the law of correspondence in Hermetics, it is found in the Bible as well, over and over. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. Right? As above, so below, saith the Lord's Prayer. I will leave you with that right now. I'm super excited about these things. This video here was just a rendition of Act 1. I will do a different video for Act 2, Into the Now, and a different video for Act 3, Into the Light. And until next time, blessings and love to you all.